You have to put a smiling face on. You're on stage. You're recording podcast. It's hard. It takes a lot of energy to grieve and perform.
Yes. But everywhere I go in regards to work, someone will come up to me and be like, I just loved your dad, or share a story, or show me a photo, or tell me a memory. And to me, it's a beautiful thing. I genuinely love those moments. And I'll be with someone, who's non-family from the company, and they'll always ask me without doubt, does that bother you? Or do you get annoyed by that?
Yeah.
Because it's nonstop. It's
Yeah.
at every single day I'm doing something for work, he's brought up. And for me, it's keeping him alive. It's keeping his memory alive. It's reminding me of all the impacts he made in his life. So why wouldn't I want to carry this on? He's changed so many people's lives. If it died with him, that would be even sadder, that it's just a lost memory and great job, but now it's done. I want to have that same honor to be able to help people become financially free and change their lives. And I know that that's important to you too.
Well, today I am so excited because I am talking with Isabelle Guarino, and she is an amazing business person, an incredible integrator, an incredible speaker, an incredible leader, a mother, a great friend with amazing personality, and I guess we would say we're family also. So I'm happy you're here, and I thought we could have just a real authentic talk about business and family and life and growing.
I love it. I am excited for this one. Our journeys have been so similar, so timely to one another, and we've always connected. And I've loved having you as a business friend, as a family friend throughout the last couple of years. So I'm happy to be here.
Yes, it's been quite a journey. So some of the parallels that we have are we both started in business working with our fathers.
Yeah.
As integrators or executive assistant, then integrator. And then we both had a parent pass away when they were 59 years old.
Yeah.
Then we both had to step up in business into the visionary role, not necessarily prepared. And then we have gone through the journey of even learning how to be public speakers.
Yeah.
So where should we start? Let's start with the beginning. So the growth journey of being integrators for our fathers. I started young. I started at 16 because I graduated school. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want me to go to college because he's like, you're going to be this cute girl, 16 at college. You're not allowed to go. He didn't say that. But he's like, if come work with me, and at 18, if you want to go, you can go. And then I bought my first property at 18. And then I never went to college, and I just started building businesses. But how did you start with your dad?
Yeah, actually, I did go to college, although he did give me similar advice. He was like, don't do this. This is such a waste of your time. Yeah. But I had a full ride. So I actually told him, I'm like, hey, this would be dumb if I didn't take it. Like, even if it is a waste of 4 years, it's free. So why wouldn't I? But after college, I did a couple things. I went to teach for America out in Miami. I was going to become a teacher. I thought that was possibly, the path for me. And then within 6 months, I was like, this is not it. I don't like this at all. Became a flight attendant, loved that, did that for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I had seen that my dad had switched everything he was doing in, the real estate space to all, assisted living. And it was the first time he was doing something that actually piqued my interest. Mm-hmm. So on my off days, I would just go in his office and kind of listen and learn to what he was doing and ask him, do you need help with this? And then eventually I would just start doing things for him and convinced him to let me work for him. He was actually very hesitant to let any of us work for him because he didn't want us to be miserable in a job that was attached to him. He didn't want it to harm our relationship with him. He was kind of like, the first time I asked if I could work for him, he said no. He was like, no, keep doing your own thing. Like I'm good. And I was like, okay.
Your dad was amazing, and his legacy is still here. But that's such an honoring thing. for him to say, like, pursue what you want to pursue. And
Yes.
then, but pursuing what you wanted to pursue was pursuing it with him.
Yes. Eventually, I was just like, you're not going to hire anyone else to be your assistant. Like, he was like a true wake up in the morning and walk into his home office and he's wearing pajamas half the time. And I'm like, you're not going to hire some girl to come sit in here where you're in your pajamas. Like, it's not going to happen. So I'm like, just hire me. Finally, he said yes. And I'd love to hear how it was with your dad. But I think one of the benefits to working with family members is you already know things that trigger them. You already know the way their mind kind of works when they have a certain inflection when talking to someone else. I'm like, that means this.
Yeah.
Like, write it down, go do this. Did you have that same thing?
Yes, I feel like being an integrator to him was really good. So my dad on the disc profile, I know you guys do culture index.
Yeah.
So I think on culture index he's a maverick, but on the disc profile he's a 100D and a 100C. So
Oh,
it's extreme, like extremely analytical and then extremely hard charging. And he would go between these two personalities, I guess. I don't know how else he would say it. And so you would know, like, when he was in his analytical, wanting to make sure everything was measured 100 times before we took action. And then you would know when he was in, like, his domineering space.
yeah.
And so, like, when he was in his domineering space, when I first started working with him, he would intimidate people. And unintentionally, and most high achieving entrepreneurs are high D and they intimidate people. So it's not a bad trait. It's actually a trait that builds businesses. But I got him a door knocker that said intense mode. And I said, if you're going to be like that, you put that on your door so people know not to come in because it's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually love that. That's so funny. I do think it is one of those perks. And, now having my son, I'm like, if he ever wants to work with me, I do think like in the future, it's kind of one of those things where you just know your family so much better than you know anyone else. And so you got to learn those little things and just kind of be that secret weapon and prepare other people for them, prepare yourself for them, and really help make their day smoother in a way that yes, you can get it if it's not a family member or a close friend or something like that, but it takes a lot more time and learning along the way to have that relationship.
Well, and I think you and I have both experienced that when we tried to hire integrators for ourselves.
Yes. Yes, I thought I can just pick a super high performing, amazing personality person, plop them in, and it will work. And
Yeah.
it was like, nope, 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 nope.
Because I think what we have with family, even though you sometimes can ruffle each other's feathers, you have trust. And you know that, like, no matter what, I still love you. We're still going to have dinner tonight. I'm not rejecting you.
Yeah.
Like, we're still in it together, even if we're not vibing in business right now.
Yes. Yes. I think I really learned. They say women have spaghetti brain and men have waffle brain,
Yeah.
but I feel like I learned waffle brain. It's like when we're talking about work, we're talking about work and it has nothing to do with the family vacation we're taking next week or eating dinner together or whatever the case is. Like these are completely separate conversations. It's almost like it's another person.
Yeah.
And I do think that is so hard for some people when they work with friends and family is that intertwining. And it's actually become it was easier for me with my dad than it actually is with some of the other people I work with now because they are friends and I'm like, "Oh, but they're wedding, but they're this, but they're that."
Well, also, I do think that, like, sometimes if you do compartmentalize, people can think that you're being insensitive.
Yeah.
And with family, it's like, no, we're boxing that, we're time boxing it, we're putting it on the shelf, and they're cool with it.
Yes.
So it is an integration or a development, I feel like, between other people who aren't family and family.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it is tough because at the end of the day, business is personal. It's personal to us as now the visionaries, right? And running everything. It's like, this is personal. This is, everything for my family of origin and my family that I'm creating. And I don't want this to go away. I want to put my best foot forward. You're the face of your business. I'm pretty much the face of my business. This matters. It's our reputations, it's our income, it's everything. It is personal, deeply personal to me.
Right. Right. And then the biggest blow of your life comes.
Yeah. Yes, for you too, obviously. But I know it's, it's so interesting because you losing your mom and then me losing my dad,
Mhm.
it's obviously, the most traumatizing thing ever, right? No matter what age you lose your parent. But I also think it's one of those things that, and I think you've shared this, I would never be where I am today. I would have never taken those risks. I would have never put myself out there if that didn't happen. And
Mhm.
as emotional and horrible and traumatizing as it was, it's exactly what led me to be where I am today. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And God's timing is divine. And I really feel like everything was so lined up, even though in the moment it did not feel like that. It was like, I am not ready. I do not know what is going on. But it's either you jump off the ledge and you're going to fail or you're going to fly. And I'm not someone who allows myself to fail. I don't fail at anything. So
Right,
it's not going to happen.
right. Well, what I mean, I feel like the pressure that you were under at that time, like, I mean, it was COVID.
Yeah.
It was the business is growing, and it was in family businesses, there's all different personalities, and people take the death of a parent differently.
Yeah.
They process differently, they grieve differently, they sometimes don't even want to face it until later, and so then the grieving happens even later. And it's like when you are with people 24/7 going through your own inner reckoning while you're going through this outer reckoning, it is hard,
Yeah.
hard, hard. How did you keep yourself grounded and rooted through that transition?
I think the biggest thing that I really did that was different than everything else I was doing was for the first time in my life, I nothing against therapy, but I had never gone to therapy. I'm a very like I don't read anything fiction. I always read nonfiction. I'm
Yeah.
so lame like that, but I
Mhm.
read a lot of self-help business books, things like that, but I'd never actually gone to talk to someone. And it was the first time in my life where I was like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know why I'm asking to be here, but I know I need to be here
Mhm.
because I don't know what I don't know. And clearly I'm going through something, but I'm treading water so much. All my energy is on that power underneath the surface. So I don't even have the time to think about anything
Yeah.
else. And so putting myself into therapy now, it's been almost 2, 3 years, and it's been the most incredible experience of my life and really, really helped. But I also think like, clinging on to God, clinging on to all the promises that he's made, clinging on to the fact that I know my dad would speak about both his parents who'd passed on, that they're with me every day. I feel their presence, right? They're just on another level. They're there. And all of these things all of a sudden we're like, time to put it into action. Like,
Yeah.
do you really just think this or do you believe this in your heart?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it was time to just you gotta do it. What is it gonna be? Are you gonna say throw my whole religion out the water because one terrible thing happened to me? A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
That's a reality, but for me, it was like, "No, this is time to put my mouth where my mind has been and get on the same page."
Yeah. Okay. This okay. Maybe we'll go on a little different tangent because I, your parents planted a church,
Yes.
and I was raised in the church.
Yeah.
And then I kind of reached a point where that belief system of the church that I was raised in really did not produce fruit in my life, and it didn't
Yeah.
really resonate with me. And it was much more legalistic than
Mm,
it was, I think, really what I believe now, which is more love,
mhm.
grace, truth, those things. And so when my mom died, I my relationship was more the universe, the sacred, that kind of relationship. I didn't have a there it's a person. I didn't
Yeah.
have that type of relationship. And that my mom was very much a believer. As
Yeah.
you know, your mom and my mom were very close. And when she passed, I'll tell you, I don't know if I told you this story. So she passed in the home in Gilbert, and it was the three girls and my dad, and she was in that front room. And she passes, and within half a second, the doorbell rings. And we're like, okay. And then we're just all sitting there, just like in shock. And then it rings again. And we're like, did anyone just hear the doorbell? And so then we go over there. My dad goes over to open the door. Nobody's there. No Amazon package. Nothing. And my dad's favorite movie is It's a Wonderful Life. And when the doorbell rings, an angel gets its wings. And so, I mean, I have pills right now. I know.
Full body chill.
I know. And so that was like the beginning of like what you said, they're still here.
Mm-hmm.
And then she died December 13th, 2019. And from there until now, oh my gosh, like maybe I'll do another story about how what I used to call the universe got a hold of me and really transformed, cleansed on the inside.
That is incredible. I love that story. Literally, I had full body chills.
Yeah.
It is so, someone, when someone passes in your life, everyone sends you books and flowers and all this stuff. All the books, I was like, you know what? I'm going to read the books. I'm not going to just put them on a shelf. I'm going to like sit here and read them because I really haven't had much death in my life up until that point. My grandfather, my dad's passed when I was very, very young, like 4 or 5 years old. And strangely enough, I always felt his presence like very strongly in my life, even though I barely knew him.
Yeah.
And I would tell my dad, this is so weird. Like, I feel your dad with me every day, and I don't know who he really is. So, but I hadn't really as an adult had anything or someone that close to me. So I read every book that people gave me. And one of the books was just saying things like that: doorbells, a butterfly, a feather, a this. You can choose to view it as a sign or not a sign at all. Just that is life. A bird flew by and a feather fell down. The doorbell was broken that day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to choose to believe in every sign. So if I see an angel number, that's something. If I hear the doorbell, it's something, because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel connected. And if that makes me crazy, great. I don't care. I feel happy. And why aren't we doing more things in life that we just dismiss so much because it doesn't have this tactical perfect bow on it? It's like, why? Every butterfly, I literally am like, hey dad, right? I hear a chime, hey dad. Like, I'd rather do that and have it be a beautiful reminder of the relationship that I had and make me feel happy inside and have a good positive feeling about them being with us still.
Yes, I completely agree, because if you don't approach it that way, if I don't, I feel like I lost something.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't lose anything, really.
Mm-mm.
I just lost it in form.
And physical, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's so incredible. And I do think the transition of that loss led to so many things that sometimes I will imagine, well, if he was here, what would my life look like? It wouldn't look like this. You know, my marriage literally dissolved, not from my dad's death, but from everything that was now required of me. It put new stress and new strains on my relationship at the time, because I could no longer be the wife that I had signed up for. And I needed a new response and actions out of my partner at the time, and they couldn't give it to me. I would still probably have so many things that I don't have. And that's a pro. To be honest, it's not a negative thing. It led me down the best, most beautiful path.
Yes. I'm thinking of sliding doors, right? There's things that happen, and there's some things that we get to go through and we don't go through. And my relationship, 2 days before my mom died, I ended a 5-year relationship.
Wow.
Which I know they say don't do, right? Don't make any big decisions. Apparently I'd been sitting on that decision for a little bit, but and then I launched Organize to Scale and scaled it. So like I was running from a whole host of grief in a way. And I think some of my grief, and I think you and I in our family units tend to be very high functioning.
Yes.
And in crisis, I double down and I become even more high functioning.
Yeah.
And I don't know if your therapy worked with you on that, but I feel like my therapy has worked with me on deriving significance, not from just performance, but from just who I am. But that changed me. And then I think to what you're saying too, it changed you. And then that changed the lifestyle. that you needed and the type of partner you needed and the type of environment that was going to make you successful.
Yeah.
Because it puts everything in perspective. I remember when my mom died, I said, if I only had 25 more years to live, what do I want to do with my life? Hello again. I have something special for you. If you are a seven-figure entrepreneur, or even just an entrepreneur who's aspiring to do big things, then you will really enjoy our 4 tips guide on how you can go from where you're at, whether it's scattered, chaotic, drowning, to something that's systematized, organized, and scaling. Just click the link below and we will send you this free guide that will transform not only your business, but you as a leader. They were young. So, like, how did you shift?
I love what you're saying because it is so true. I do think high functioning people, they do a lot of time measure their worth on what they've done, right? Here's what I've achieved, here's all the great things that I've done, and it's not just on who you are as a human being and that you are worthy and all those things. So I do think that is such a beautiful thing that you shared right there. I didn't want that to go pointed out because it is incredible, but I think what was so interesting to me was I find a lot of joy in being there for other people. And I think that the integrator role helped with that because you are literally the go-to person for everyone.
Everyone.
So now I'm in a position where I'm grieving my dad, but I'm also in a strange position of that all of my team just lost their boss.
Yeah.
I've never worked in a company where my boss died. Like,
Yeah.
how do you react? What do you do? Do I have a job? Should I be scared? Should I be sad? Am I allowed to say something? That actually gave me a lot of purpose being there to help them through their questions and concerns and grief. And it kind of let me like step outside of myself for a bit and like my own stuff and just say, I'm actually going to sometimes sit in this role, which is like, if I wasn't family and it was someone else who came in to be their boss, they would have had to deal with all these things. So I would like almost put that hat on, just like I'm just the new person in this chair. How can I help them through that? Helping them through it helped me get through it too, because it's like when you what do they say, right? Like if you don't know what you're doing, teach, right? Because now you're explaining it to yourself. Me helping them helped me, and I think that was a really beautiful thing. In grief in general, I was grieving my boss and my mentor and my friend and my father. And I was also grieving my job. Everything about my day to day was different, even though to an outsider, I'm still working for the same company. So what's so different?
Right.
Nothing that I did on a day to day was the same. Everything that's required of me, everything that's expected of me, who I literally am presenting to the world had to change.
Yes.
And that was honestly a very difficult grief to go through because it's like a part of me is like, I didn't sign up for this.
Right. Right.
But then again, it's like you kind of did, but just right there and you have to do it.
It feels like you don't have a choice.
Yes.
You do have a choice because I know you don't have a victim narrative at all. We had a
choice. Yes.
We had a choice and we chose to do it.
Yes.
And it was by far the hardest because also you're going through a huge grieving process on a platform.
Yeah.
You have to put a smiling face on. You're on stage. You're recording podcast. It's hard. It takes a lot of energy to grieve and perform.
Yes. And a beautiful thing, and I'm sure people get this with you too, because you have been public with your journey about grief and losing your mom and all of that good stuff. Every single where I go, and whenever I'm with a non-family member who works with us, they'll always ask me about it. But everywhere I go in regards to work, someone will come up to me and be like, I just loved your dad, or share a story, or show me a photo, or tell me a memory. And to me, it's a beautiful thing. I genuinely love those moments. And I'll be with someone, who's non-family from the company, and they'll always ask me without doubt, does that bother you? Or do you get annoyed by that? Because it's nonstop. It's at every single day I'm doing something for work, he's brought up. And for me, it's keeping him alive. It's keeping his memory alive. It's reminding me of all the impacts he made in his life. So why wouldn't I want to carry this on? If his life, and especially those last 10 years, really in assisted living and helping so many people create financial freedom and do all of this stuff, He's changed so many people's lives. Why wouldn't I want to carry that forward? If it died with him, that would be even sadder, that it's just a lost memory and great job, but now it's done. I
Yeah.
want to have that same honor to be able to help people become financially free and change their lives. And I know that that's important to you too.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you a purpose beyond just one person's life, because you're building a family business, you're building a legacy, you're building something that your son,
Yeah.
like, he may not work in the business, but he's going to see a mom that is building something beautiful, impacting people, just like you watched your dad do it.
Right.
And you're modeling being a light post in the business world, a light post in a family world, a light post in terms of financial freedom.
Yep. I remember I have a really close girlfriend who her brother actually died of drug overdose about a month or two prior to my dad passing. And when my dad passed a couple months after, her and I were talking, and she said, "You know what's crazy? No one has ever said, my brother, he made such an impact in my life. He changed this. Like, he left nothing. He left no one proud of him. He left no one encouraging him, saying he changed their life. He left us sad and disappointed at a wasted life."
Oh,
That killed me
I
because
feel that right now. I feel like my chest is heavy for their family.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
because they literally all felt like you had everything in your power to become incredible, to help people, to lead a beautiful life, and you wasted it. You wasted it. And that's sad. And when she would see how people would respond to me about my dad, she's like, that's the type of life that I want to live. That's the type of life everyone should want to live, is one that years after they're gone, people still sing their praises about what an incredible human they were. And it's not about being a public figure or forward facing or a CEO. You could be behind the scenes and doing it, but that everyone's memory of you is incredible. That's hard to achieve. And I think that is something we should all be striving for, is how do you leave earth with that incredible obituary, with that incredible memory, right?
How do you think you do it?
Man, I know for a fact my father never spoke poorly of anyone to their face behind their back ever. And I think that spoke so much to his character. He was extremely positive, what therapy calls toxic positivity, right?
Or at his celebration of life, you said that from stage, like, we're going to therapy and he's too positive, it's not working.
Yes, he was so positive. And I think that it helped my family get through so many things financially when we were struggling or whatever. When the leader of the tribe, when the leader of the family, when the leader of whoever is like, we're good and I've got you and everything's going to work out, even when it feels like the whole world's on fire. He did that for our company through COVID. He did that with our family through him losing his job and them running out of savings and all this stuff. That toxic positivity has forever imprinted on me and on so many people that he touched. Like, he just wouldn't say a negative thing. And I think that's beautiful. I think that really helped people see something different in him than what they get everywhere else across the world.
I know your father. Like, I've spent a lot of time with him. And I wonder if toxic positivity should be renamed as faith,
Mm, I like that.
because he didn't seem like he was not real. He
Right.
seemed like he was very real. He knew what was happening.
You know what? I genuinely, he wasn't like feeding us a lie and then behind the scenes, like, right? He genuinely was like, no, we're going to be good because I'll do whatever it takes to make us good.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
always did.
Yeah.
So it was very open handset, very generous, very abundance mindset. And I think it has trickled down to all of us. But
Yeah.
everyone who came into interaction with him also saw that beauty from within, that he was like, I'm not going to let anyone on the news, any negativity get me down. Like, I'm going to stay in my happy mindset and you can join me or have fun in yours. Like,
I feel like my mom and your dad were so similar.
they were. They were.
Yeah. I want to switch gears and talk about the transition from integrator to visionary.
Yeah.
Like, I know your role completely changed, but you had to immediately start public speaking.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh my God. Yes.
I know for me, I had to as well pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying being integrator behind the scenes.
Mhm.
So, how did you do all of that?
You know what's so interesting is that when it first kind of was presented to me that, like, hey, if you don't do this, we really don't know what else is going to happen. I was like, okay, like I'm not afraid of public speaking. I've never been afraid. I just enjoyed my life behind the scenes. I just enjoyed that, like, I could post that I'm drinking with my friends on a Tuesday night and no one's judging me, right? I just enjoyed I could post a bikini pic and not be like,
Right.
weird, like just little things, like having your life be your life and not shared with the world, right? And I think with public speaking, I was just like, okay, what can I learn? But also don't overwhelm yourself. Learn the content and you just have to get it out. If you get it out, that's a win. That's the most important, is just getting it out. So I practiced as much as I could. I would dress up. I'd wear my shoes that I'd wear on stage. I'd pace in my house. I'd have my clicker ready. I would time everything. I'd practice as much as I could. I took
Mhm.
one speaker training kind of course. I listened to it like on Audible. I do
Yeah.
think that was helpful. And then honestly, I was just like, okay, like we just have to go. Once I did it, first of all, absolutely, I'm very proud of myself. It's probably one of my proudest moments in my life because the first time I ever spoke from stage, I sold $1 million from
Yeah.
stage, which
Yeah.
had happened one time in the 8 years prior with my dad. So it was pretty incredible, and I'm not saying that's me. Once it happened, so many things kept popping up in my mind. Like when I was a kid and I had tried out for a school play and I memorized the entire monologue. It was an angel in the beginning of the play and she had a monologue and that was it. That was the only part, but I was like, this is perfect for me.
Yeah.
I memorize it. I go to tryouts. I put the sheet down. I give my little monologue. And I'm so proud of myself. I memorized it. All the other kids are like shaking in their boots, reading off the paper. They didn't pick me. They picked another girl. And I went to the teacher. This is in third grade. So it's like I'm pretty young at this time. I go to the teacher and I said, can I have feedback? Why didn't you pick me? She said, you're not angelic enough. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I guess there's nothing I can do to fix that, like, thanks for the feedback. High school, I tried out for a school play. They didn't pick me at all. Didn't even give me a subsequent role, just like in third grade. Didn't give me a subsequent role. Told me, oh, well, this other girl's been on drama class since freshman year. It's her senior year, so she deserves it. So she's going to get it, not you, even though, your thing was great. I had been trying out for these things. I had this desire in me, and adults throughout my life had shut it down and not even said, like, you're great, let's put you over here or whatever. It was just like, no. And
Yeah.
so I think the little voice inside me that wanted to do this my whole life was like, no, no, no. And as a child, that gets internalized as you're not good enough. And so being told that, you're just like, okay, I'm not good enough. And then you're like, I'm not going to try again.
Right.
So it was very funny. And like the other things I chose to do in life, like cheerleading, that's very performative. Dance, that's very performative. Clearly I had this in me.
Yeah.
I just it wasn't being manifested in the right way. And now it's kind of like, of course I'm a public speaker.
So interesting too, because like the first time you do it, you sell $1 million.
Yeah.
And then just thinking back at how impactful somebody like saying you're not angelic or you're not this thing, how it can label a young kid. And then here, you made probably that person's salary for 20, 30 years in one presentation. And it's the belief systems that we
Yeah.
have in our heads. And then also, I feel like for me, the first time I did like my big presentation, it was like when a little kid gets on a roller coaster and they're like, okay, I'm tall enough. I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm sitting on the roller coaster. And then you're terrified the entire time you're doing the roller coaster, but you're doing it and you're proud of yourself. And then you get off and you're like, yeah, I did it. And then you go find your mom and you start crying because you're like, I was so brave. I don't know how I did it, but I was brave.
Yes.
I feel like That's how I felt.
Definitely felt like that. It was just like, I don't even know what happened. I think I blacked out for 3 days straight, but I did it and I'm proud and we finished.
And then, so the speaking was only one component of what your dad did as visionary.
Yeah.
You also had to take on the strategic vision, the forecasting, all of that.
Yep, definitely. Like really everything that happens in our business, I was by his side and really managing most of it. And we got to a place in our relationship where I would make decisions, let him know the decision I made, and he would give me feedback if he liked it or didn't. And then I would go fix it or say, move ahead, whatever. So I was pretty confident with a lot of the decision making. But I think losing that person behind you, so when you fall back, there's no one to fall back on. Like if you made a bad decision, there's no one to say that was actually a bad decision. You just have to fail. And
Yeah.
it was the first time that I had to go through that for sure.
Losing the thought partner.
Yes.
I feel like that's what I lost with my mom too. My mom was my best friend. You had that dynamic too, because you're in the business with your dad, but then you have somebody else that you can go talk to kind of be like, dad's acting like this, and you get validated for your experience. You don't have that anymore. You don't, and yours was more on the team side of it, but you don't have that person that validates you. So how did you replace that, or did you?
I think that is kind of where I started to see more of a need from my partner at home, where it was like, I don't have this anymore. I need you to be this person. Can you step up? Can you be my backboard? Can I rely on you to have these conversations where I'm going to get heated, but I'm not heated at you. I'm heated because I need to let this steam out. and I just need to, talk through all these things. And that's really, I think, part of why that fell apart, because it just wasn't built to withstand that.
Okay, so this is a tangent, but I'm going to go here too, because that has been my experience as well. Because working with my dad, I had a male in my life.
Yeah.
That was a significant man in my life that I worked with every single day. And sometimes I wouldn't go to my significant other for things because there was no gap. I had everything I needed. And then I had a partner that's fun and you get to go on vacations and adventures, but I didn't need thought partnership. I didn't need as much. Then when I started Organized to Scale and I started doing it on my own, then now with my significant other, I'm able to have a thought partnership there with somebody else that already has a 7-figure business. So there's some education and knowledge and understanding, which I think you have that too with your significant other. And it almost was able to form a stronger bond.
Yeah. I fully agree with that. And that's why they say, right, when you get married, leave and cleave, like you're supposed to cut that relationship in that regard with your family. Well, when you work with them and when that's the man that you trust with every single thing in you, you're not going to leave it until you're forced to leave it.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you?
Right? And I think for you also, it's like, I mean, obviously on the parent who's still here, their role in your life changes. They are no longer the person who they were when your other parent was here, and you can't necessarily rely on them in the same way. You can't speak to them in the same way. They have different wants and needs. And a lot of times you end up being there for them for some things where they used to be there for you. And so it can't be that person anymore. So it's like, well, who is it? And you're searching. And to me, I feel like it led me to the best partner for me, probably the type of partner I should have been with all along. But again, if my back wasn't against the wall, if I didn't have to see that clearly, I probably wouldn't have made that decision.
Yeah. I'm curious. So you and I tend to be more alpha. We're feminine, but we're hard charging. We're alpha. We want to get shit done. That is a powerful energy to be around.
Yeah.
A lot. And it sometimes has been threatening in intimate relationships because I feel very capable in my human.
Yeah.
How do you integrate yourself or be more of your feminine self in the relationship and more of your alpha self in business without confusing the heck out of yourself?
I think that sometimes it sounds silly, but actually stating things for what they are, like saying like, I need to talk to you about work right now. So that way they know, like, I'm about to bring out that alpha and I need you to just understand this isn't about you. Like I said, it's not threatening to you when I'm getting heated, when I'm talking fast, when I'm da, 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 it's, but I need to have this conversation. And then it's like when we're talking personal, it's
Mhm.
literally saying like, I want to talk about us right now, babe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like just getting there. But I also think, it has a lot to do with the person you're partnered with. This is probably the first man where I feel confident in his decision making, in
Mhm.
his being, that it's like, I know I can drop into that, more feminine role, and he's got me. He will take care of me. He has my best interests at heart. I
Mhm.
don't have to present this way because he doesn't need me to. Like, he will handle it. And I think that matters a lot. And unfortunately, in our world right now, my girlfriends who are single, that is not like the easiest thing to find these days,
No.
is a man who will make you feel that confident and comfortable enough to drop back. So you do have, currently the statistics are, there's more women entering college, more women graduating college, more women going into the workforce, all these different things, because girls are starting to say, I can't trust you. So I have to go do it myself. And
Yeah.
me raising a son right now, I'm like more cognizant of this than ever, because I'm like, I'm not raising you to go be like
Right.
secondary, be weak in any shape or form. You need to be your most ultimate gentleman, your most ultimate alpha male energy, whatever it is, because I want a woman to feel safe around you. I want her to feel protected around you. I want you to attract someone who
Mhm.
you can, have them relish in the beauty of being a woman and live in that space.
Mhm.
But I do think there's a lot of duality in the roles that we hold. When I wake up in the morning, I'm in my alpha. When I go to bed at night, I get to be in my feminine. And it's like we just ride this wave of who are we going to be. And I think, I know this is a tangent, but I when I used to live in San Diego and I would fly back in for work, I would meet up with my girlfriends who'd be in town. One of them said to me one time, I don't like when you hang out with us when you're here for work, because when you come to dinner, you're too much. Like, you're like aggressive. You're not like ready to have girl talk and just chill with us. And I was like, oh my God, how do I stop this? Like, I don't know what to do. And I literally was like Googling, like buying books, like watching YouTube videos about how do I get into my feminine, right? And so it's like the hands on the heart, hands on the belly, taking those mindful breaths,
Mhm.
focusing on, this is where I am. This is what I want to be. This is who I am in this moment. And literally, I'll do that before I go hang out with my girlfriends, or before I am going to enter like a more relationship focused conversation with my partner, different things like that, because I don't want anyone to feel
Right.
like, ugh, I don't
Yeah.
love this version of you. I can reserve that for work because it works well at work, and I don't want it to go away there.
True. Because I have the same thing. If I come to a dinner or even come home and I am in my alpha, oh my gosh, it's like it it ruins everything. Nobody wants to be around me.
No.
And but in work, it works. Like, it generates a lot of revenue, it gets a lot of shit done. And so I'm like, I don't want to lose that side of me because it's powerful, but it has to not dominate my family life either. Um,
Yes.
but it's also hard because we tend to be in environments that work a lot.
Mhm.
Like, and so part of when I started Googling how to be more feminine, I was like, I need to create more space. Like,
Yeah.
I need actually more rest in my life, in space in my life, which for me, that was a really hard transition.
Yeah. I know we've talked about that, and you are much better than me about, really reframing your life to work with that. And I think it is such a beautiful thing. I probably should do more of it, but it is true. It's one of those things where you're like, well, I need to harness this power over here, but something we've mentioned therapy a few times, but something in therapy that I've learned is, I'll learn something about myself and I'll say, but it's working for me. So even if it's quote wrong, I'm not going to let it go because it's working for me. And she'll be like, that's great. This isn't about changing everything about you. It's about noticing.
Yeah.
So when you notice that you are in that and you don't want to be in it, it's like a whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, hold on.
Mhm.
This is not who I want to be in the moment. let me
Yeah.
get in that space and move forward. But I agree, the way you've restructured your life truly to be
Mhm.
able to have that more fluid switchover, I think has been a beautiful thing and a testament to a lot of women who are in roles like us.
Yeah. I think you're kind of referring to cycle syncing also.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've talked about it in a few podcasts now, how I have learned my cycle more. And
Yeah.
then there's moments where I want to be more reflective and I want somebody to be more nurturing to me and I want to be more nurturing. And then there's moments where I am like 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., let's go.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just leave. I'll go to another one of our other offices and just work there because I'm like, nobody wants to be around me. I could probably get a 1 week's worth of work done in one day if I just turn on my alpha. So let me just go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it always comes down to everything in business, male, female, whatever. The more you know yourself, the better leader you're going to be, the better partner you're going to be, the better human you're going to be. Learning about yourself, the way you think, why you react the way you do, what your triggers are. You actually taught me that. You said that how to work with me sheet. I think that is so amazing. And I love that. I'm like, the more you know yourself, the better human being you are, truly.
I've had some, I think in the last probably 5 years since my mom died, some real hard truths with myself where I'm like, wow, I had some programming I didn't know was in there.
Mhm.
Have you gone through that at all with your therapy?
Definitely. And I think like I had, said a little bit earlier, some of it's like this may be from an outside perspective not what I should be choosing, but it has worked for me and I don't want to stop it. So I'm just going to choose it. And sometimes I'll even say that and 6 months later I'm like, "Okay, it's not working anymore." You know? And you have to be willing to go through the seasons. Like one answer today, it may not be the answer forever. The market today is not going to be the same market that it is in the future. So why are we saying that this is the way it is? No, it's not. Things change and they flow and they go, and we have to be willing to move with it. Life comes and goes in seasons. You have to respect and love them for what they are, but nothing lasts forever. And that's the harshest truth of life and the most beautiful truth of life.
Yes. Yes. Because you want the good times to last forever and you want the bad times to not never happen.
Yeah,
But
but listen, if we ate at Nobu every single night, we would start to get sick of sushi and never want to eat it again. So there's a reason it's a treat. There's a reason you go there once in a blue moon and it's the best meal you've ever had. Okay, amazing. But if you had that every night, you'd be, "Ugh, I don't even like it. I want the ramen noodles?"
okay, so I have a couple of questions. What is your definition of success?
Oh, I think it would be probably going to bed every night feeling like you're proud of yourself for whatever that is. We all have different things that make us proud, whether it's spending time in the present, whether it is a financial thing that you accomplished, doing all your to-dos that day, spending time with your kids, whatever it is. I think if you set out to do something and you did it, and at the end of the day, you can look back and be like, I did that and I did it with full intention, with my heart fully there. I was present in the moment. That to me is success.
Mm. I don't think I've heard that answer since I've started asking it because it's a really present time answer.
Yeah.
It's like in this 24 hours, in this 16 hours that I was awake, did I experience success?
Yeah, because the thing is, if you're measuring success on a long period of time, well, there's a million days that you're going to feel like it's not success, and then one day that feels success. I don't want to live my life feeling like a failure every day. If
Right.
I set up in the morning and I'm like, I really want to spend intentional time with my son today, and I do that, then that day was a success. So
Yeah.
setting those small wins helps you
Mhm.
lead a life that is a winner's life instead
Yeah.
of saying, what's this lifetime achievement that I want? No, it's all the small things.
Mhm. Stacked together over time,
Yes.
making memories. Yes, I love it. Looking back on your business and life, what choices did you make that most inspired you?
Mhm. I think a lot of the hardest decisions were the ones that were the most impactful and the most inspiring. Um, for example, letting people go. We work in a friends and family business, and sometimes it is incredibly heartbreaking and difficult to let people go. I've literally had to fire my husband at the time, my mother-in-law at the time, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother, uncle, cousins, friends. The list is endless, right? And strangers, right? People who've just worked for us. But all those decisions are like, if I didn't make them, we wouldn't necessarily be where we were. And I think at the end of the day, always putting the business before myself or anyone, I think has led me to have respect from the people who work for me, is that I'm not the type of leader who's like, oh, we're struggling and I'm going to buy a nice car. Like, it's like, no, if we're struggling, we're all struggling, including myself. And that is important because I think that they need to see how you behave before things happen. So, yeah.
Yeah. Making those tough decisions is not easy in the moment because not everyone's going to understand.
Oh,
And so you're misunderstood a lot of the time
yeah.
as a leader. And you really only get the respect once the result comes, which could be 6 months later. It could be 12 months later. It could be 2 years later. And then somebody sees the vision that you had. And that, I think, is part of the visionary role as well.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes also, depending on how long that takes, everyone forgets and it becomes their idea in the meantime, right? And the success comes and you're just like, yeah, I don't even care. Like, I don't even need the credit for it. I just know that I made those hard decisions to get us where we need to go.
Well, that's another flip side of the coin of leadership is you take the blame for everything and you give away all the credit.
Yes. Yes.
What projects are you most excited about right now?
You know, we're relaunching season 2 of Young Boss Podcast May 1st. I know you were on the show for the season 1, and we had a lot of fun with that. It's been a really fun project for me because so many of the people in the assisted living world that I work with, they are more established professional business owners, or they've had a long career and maybe they're a bit older, whatever the case is. And then I would talk to my friends who were like, bridge the gap. Like, how do we get from where we are to where they are? But we're young, we don't have experience, we don't have all of this. So it's been a really fun kind of journey for me to see, how can I share everything I've learned from hanging out with incredibly successful, amazing people with a younger audience, and also share with them, hey, these are your superpowers. These are the things that are going to help you actually go better, harder, faster than they did, because we have all these things and they don't.
Right.
And so I'm excited for season 2 to launch. May 1st, it'll launch. And it's been a really fun journey being able to talk to other incredible young bosses like yourself, and then just share things I've learned along the way. So excited for that.
Your show is so fun. Is season 2 going to be different?
Yeah, we redid the whole set. We've got a whole bunch of new amazing guests and fun new topics and stuff. And we've been working hard on just like trying to really narrow down and on like, who are we talking to? And so I think it's going to be a lot more poignant this season. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I feel like season 2 for you is going to be amazing, especially with AI coming out, because all of the tools that the younger generation has,
it's amazing.
And they're embracing. Whereas typewriter town can't get to where everybody else is going. If people want to connect with you, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, you guys can go to theyoungbosspodcast.com. You can check out episodes, follow us on social media there. And my personal Instagram is the Isabelle Guarino. So feel free to follow us.
We will put all of that in the show notes. And I just love chatting with you because I feel like, I have a sister, but I have a sister that understands family business. I have someone that understands being alpha and high functioning and trying to also be a spouse and feminine and integrating all of that. And then our journeys of just being integrator and visionary. And there's so much commonality, and to watch you navigate it has been inspiring to me. And so I just appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. And to all who are listening, I believe, and Isabelle too, that we can build a business and a beautiful life at the same time if we stay rooted and get shit done. So cheers, y'all.